What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Ethan. Hope you're having a great day, and this video starts off the main reason why we came down to Cherokee in the first place. We're playing the $1,700 main event for a gold diamond ring, and I'm thinking I'm going to start doing more of these traveling vlogs where I go to random places and play some bigger events. So this one's a $1,700 buy-in. The cool thing about this tournament is that we're not gonna go broke playing it. There are 2 max buy-ins per day. There are 2 different flights, so we'll see if we can maybe be efficient like we did last time we played a main event like this and bought in for one time. But at the very least, 4 is the max bullets we'll go into, and let me know what you guys think about traveling more on these bigger tournament series, because it's cool to travel to different states, different countries, and play in larger events like a $1,700 buy-in, and it's pretty prestigious, as the winner of this event is going to get a pretty cool WSOP ring that's just encrusted with diamonds. But let's go run this one up. Wish me some luck. Going to try to manifest some of this action, and let's get into the video. Starting things off in the $1,700 main event here in Cherokee. We pick up the action at level 9. Starting stack is 30,000, and we're playing 7-handed. I'm under the gun with ace-10 offsuit. I put in a raise to 2,200. You get the cutoff and big blind to call, and going to a flop multi-way of ace-8-6 to diamonds. When we're multi-way in these flops here, I actually lean more towards checking, and I do exactly that, being in middle position here. I check it over when the big blind checks, and everyone checks. Going to see a turn, which is the 10 of clubs. Yeah, that's going to be a pretty good card to see, to be honest. I only lose to essentially 9-7, and when the big blind checks again, going to have to size up and bet for value with my strong hand. I size up to 6,500, and only the cutoff makes the call with about a pot-sized bet behind. We're off to a river now with the pot building. It is the deuce of clubs, the brick that I wanted to see. I have about 25,000 in my stack behind, and I think I'm going to go for it. I have top 2 pair, and I beat a whole lot and can get value by a whole lot. So I jam. This player decides on making the call. I show my 2 pair, and I win. I'm not actually sure what he had in his hand. We're actually supposed to find out, but the dealer never ended up flipping his cards over when we're all in the tournament. Oh well, not the end of the world, as I'm not one to complain. I get a full double up this first hand into the tournament, and things are going well. It's a good way to start the main event here, and my chip stack's already at 71,000. And moving on to the next one, same level here with 10-8 of spades in the low jack. I raise it up to 2,200. Folds to the button player, who decides to 3-bet to 6,000. Action folds to me here, and we're playing pretty deep stack with similar stacks now at this point. And I think the button's supposed to be raising some really good hands or some really bad hands. Not sure if he knows this. Maybe he's just doing it with a good hand. But this dude is trying his best to look like a pro. He's got his hoodie on, his hood is up, sunglasses on, and everything. So honestly, I'm not a big fan of that look, so let's go after his chips. I make the call with the 10-8 suited, and we see a flop of Jack 8-6 rainbow with 1 spade. All things considered, not a bad flop for 10-8 suited. Anyways, I start with a check, and he bets 5,000. All right, I have a pair and some backdoor opportunities, whether they're straight or flush draws. I make the call. The turn comes a board pairing jack. This is beautiful. He shouldn't have too many Jack X holdings, and his overpairs are certainly going to hate this card. Overall, I don't think he's going to like it, and when I start with a check, he decides to check back, so things are going well. Maybe an 8's going to win this one. The river is now a 4, and I'm thinking in my head if there's any merit to betting here. Seems like I'm just going to fold out all of his bluffs and would only get called by better hands than me if I were to bet. So I decided to check, give him some rope, but he ends up checking back and isn't super happy when I show over the 10-8. Oops, well, he probably shouldn't have tried so hard to look like a pro. Anyways, I'm going to win this one. He throws his hand into the muck, and it's another winning hand for me. All right, we were just on dinner break. Play starts again in 3 minutes, and had a lovely little guest that you might be familiar with from the Hustler stream. You're welcome for the hibachi. We played Croc. Well, I didn't capture the Croc again because I'm really bad at vlogging and filming, but going on to play again in like 3 minutes, back in the action. Finding a double up was really nice. So we have a long day ahead of us. Let's see how it goes. Maybe he'll hop into maybe tomorrow. Coming back from dinner break would be level 10. But sadly, after a full level 10, nothing happens and we move on to level 11. Again,
card death in level 11 as well. And now we're on to level 12. Do you think I'm going to play a hand in level 12 or a significant one? One. I got one to share. My chip stack's about 75,000, so not a whole lot of movement 3 levels after the break. But I have Jack 9 of hearts on the button, and action folds to me. I raise to 5,000, and the big blind calls. So button versus big blind here. The flop comes 10-9-5, 2 hearts. What a sick flop for me with middle pair, with the flush draw, backdoor straight draw, just everything. He checks it over to me, and I decide to bet out 4,500 with all this equity. And he does something really fun. He check raises to 15,000, and I'm thinking this is a pretty big check raise, pretty unfortunate or fun spot to be in, regardless how you look at it. If I was out of position facing this raise, it would be an easy all-in, but because we're on the button and in position of this player, I have an easy call here. Just happy to play some runouts in position. Don't have to go broke, although I'd love to hit my out. I make the call here, and with the pot building, the turn is the 7 of diamonds. Now, I do have a straight draw along with everything else going for me. He continues to bet though, and sizes to 13,000. With my stack with less than the pot, I could definitely jam. I just have a lot of equity against basically everything besides a straight at this point, but it's hard for him to have Jack 8 because I have a Jack in my hand. Anyways, with really good equity, I call once again. In the river comes a brick 5. Not what I wanted to see. And even worse, he goes all in and he covers me. I count out my stack. I have 37,000 total in here. I think this is just a miserable spot where I only have a bluff catcher, and folding this hand is probably going to be the play, but I don't want to let go of my cards. The flop was so pretty with so much going for me, but now only sitting with 1 pair, and that's second pair at that. It's hard to think I'm ahead here unless this guy's a psychomaniac. I'll let my cards go, live to fight another day, and hope to move on from this hand. Moving on, we do, because the very next deal, the dealer gives me king-queen offsuit in the hijack. There's a low jack open to 5,000, and with 37,000 in my stack, I think I'm just going to go all in here with a pretty short stack now, given the blinds. Anyways, action folds to this player, and he tank calls. Makes the call, and it's a flip. He has pocket 6s, and the run out gives me a gut shot straight draw, but brick city for me. Pocket 6s is going to win, and just like that, after 2 really good hands of doubling up and winning a big pot, I end up losing a big pot and then getting stacked. GG's, but onto the rebuy line to rebuy number 2 today on this flight. I quickly buy back in, and here I have ace-9 offsuit in the big blinds. With about 35,000 in my stack chipped up a bit, so 17 big blinds, the early position player raises, hijack makes the call, and I think I'm just going to go all in because I'm in a high variance mood. Certainly could have just called with my stack depth, but you know, I'm here to gamble. I end up ripping it all in. The early position player tank folds, and the hijack player quickly motions his chips into the middle and calls, which is pretty bad news. We're up against ace-10 suited, so totally dominated, but the flop comes 9 high. The turn gives him a spade, though, for a spade flush opportunity, and the river, heartbreak. Could not suck out. Looks like there is justice in poker, as the best hand pre-flop ends up winning, and that is how I quickly busted 2 buy-ins of the $1,700 tournament real quickly. Anyways, this is unfortunate, but we're moving on to the next day where I have another opportunity to buy in a 3rd bullet into this thing. Let's hop into that. Fuck. That was great. On to tomorrow. Starting bullet number 3. We enter on level 6 where blinds are 300, 500, 500, and I have 30,000 to start. And I pick up king 9 of hearts in the hijack. There is a +1 player who raises to 1,300. This seems like a pretty good candidate to 3-bet bluff, so I decide to do that and raise to 3,500, and this player makes the call. So in position here in a 3-bet pot, the flop is actually pretty damn good. It's 9-7-3 rainbow with 1 heart. So flopping top pair, he checks it over to me, and I'm gonna bet for value now with my pair here. 2,500, I make it to go, and for 2,500, he makes the call. So we're going to a turn which comes the jack of hearts now, which is amazing. Not amazing that my top pair is now 2nd pair, but I do have hearts to fall back on. This player decides to check, and I don't really see much merit to betting here at this point. Let's see a river, which comes a 7. Board pairs on the 7, no heart for me, and he bets out 3,300. Really small bet here, and although I don't think I beat a whole lot, considering that I also only have a pair and any jack or any 7 beats me. I think it's just a really good price to call, I guess. Expecting to lose a lot of the time, I flick in a call and he shows me queen jack offsuit. What? Okay, I guess he has a jack. He called with queen high on the flop and banked it. Pretty annoyed to lose this one, so my 30,000 to start this hand turns into 20,000. Kind of like the stock market. You put in 30,000 into the stock market and you end up with 20,000. Trying to rebound here with ace queen offsuit in the next hand. I'm in early position and there's a +1 open to 1,200. I'm next to act to hit this player's left and I raise it up again to 3,000 here. Trying to isolate, I have a good hand to do it with. And when the hijack makes the call, he's an older gentleman cold calling a 3-bet. Usually seems like a strong hand. +1 calls as well. So we're going 3 ways all of a sudden. Multi-way to a flop of ace 7-7 2 spades. The +1 player checks it over to me. And considering that I think that the hijack player is going to have a strong range, I decided to check this one, having no spade in my hand. Action checks around. The turn is the 10 of diamonds, and now the +1 player decides to bet out 3,500. For this price, I have top pair, good kicker. No decision here besides a call. The hijack ends up getting out of the way, so maybe not too strong. The river is now the 8 of diamonds, and now this player decides to check. I'm all around very confused about how this hand has played, but I have 13.4 thousand in my stack. And I think the best way to play this hand is to go for some value with my ace and just go for it. If I missed spades, then I could certainly go all in as well. So I rip it all in. This player tanks, goes into his little thinking cap and ends up calling. Asks if I have a 7, but I don't. I assume ace is good enough as well. And he ends up mucking his cards. So once again, another situation where I should have found out what he had, but it's a tournament. Rules are a little loosey-goosey. We don't know what he had, but I'm back in the game with a full double up here, a little bit more than that. The hijack player announced that he had pocket jack, so he did have a strong hand, but nice to bink the ace on the flop. My chip stack's over starting stack, up to 44,000. In the next spot here, I pick up king 9 offsuit in the big blind here at level 7. Blinds have increased. Action folds to the small blind player, and he raises to 16,000. Pretty small raise here, and I have a playable hand for the most part. In position, blind versus blind. I decide to make the call. We're going to a flop of king 7-3, 2 diamonds, and flopping top pair blind versus blind is a pretty good situation to be in. He decides to bet out 2,100, and I don't think I'm going to go anywhere with top pair. I make the call. The turn is the ace of clubs, so pretty much one of the worst freaking cards I've ever wanted to see. It's not a diamond, so he could certainly have ace-x of diamonds, and he decides to bet again for 5,100. Okay, I'm not going to fold this hand just yet with a pair of kings, but I'm not in love with the situation, and there's a chance that I'm going to be put in a tough spot on the river. But let's face it, when we get there, I make the call. The river is now the deuce of spades. This is another really brick card. Every single draw imaginable has missed, and he bets again, 7,200. If we take a look back at this player's line, I think it's really weird for this player to bet half pot on the flop, 2/3 on the turn, then sizing down to 1/3 pot on the river. It does look like value a lot of the time, but considering it's blind versus blind dynamics, I think I just have to pay him off with a king, especially when everything missed. I end up making the call. This player insta-mucks, so we're not going to find out what he had, but he doesn't have to find out what I had either. Seems like it's good news. I scoop another pot, and the stack has grown to 60,000. Skipping level 8, we're into level 9 now, and I have a pretty quick hand. I have pocket 8s, I raise from the hijack, and there's a button who jams for 7,000, give or take. About 7 big blinds. Let's hope to see that we're flipping. I call with 8s and are up against ace 4 offsuit. Just gotta fade the overcard ace, and the run out comes clean. I stack an opponent and pick up about 8,000, scooping my way.
All right, had dinner break. Something about these dinner breaks, only an hour is not long enough. Maybe a minute left until the thing starts. We're walking, speed walking through this casino, but I have like 70,000 chips. Basically the same spot that I was yesterday at dinner break. Hopefully I can run good and keep on winning chips. Table's pretty fun. That's all I gotta say. Let's get back to the hands.
After dinner break onto level 11, I end up winning a bunch of small pots. Nothing super significant, but My chip stack went from 65,000 to over 100,000, and it takes us into level 12 here. It brings us here to pocket threes on the button. Action folds to me, and I raise my pair to 4,000. The small blind ends up going all in, about 22,000, and the big blind folds. I don't think this is a player type that's going to be going all in too late, but considering the short stack, considering the blind level, it's a mandatory call. Let's hope for a flip. He has ace jack off suits, so let's win a 50-50 here, please, dealer. The flop comes clean. Turn pairs the board, which actually isn't amazing. Gives him a few more outs, but the river, brick. Thank goodness. I stack an opponent here, and my stack just continues to grow. Chip stack is about 152,000. Moving on to the next hand, ace king. I get it all in versus a small stack of about 30,000. I wasn't able to record this as fast as I would like to, but we're up against pocket sevens. We're off to a run out where the flop is unfavorable. Turn Bink City. Come on, dealer. Ship it over. Fade the 7 on the river, and I win. The great thing about being all in and when you're flipping is that you get to see all 5 cards, and you never know when the turn and river will come handy for you. After winning those, my chip stack is at 180,000. I am 6x the starting chip stack, and things are going well. And here, we'll play a non-all-in pot, finally. All right, I'll do this for you guys. I have queen 8 of clubs in the big blind. There's a +2 raise to 4,000. The cutoff makes the call, and I have a suited queen. Good enough to be in here as well. I make the call, and the flop comes king 5-3 rainbow. Action checks all the way around on this flop that completely bricked my hand. But the cool thing is that the turn comes the 4 of clubs, bringing in a backdoor flush draw for me. Here, first to act, and on this board texture, I think it's a good spot to bet and bluff off. So let's try. I decide to bet out 8,500 into the middle here, and the cutoff decides to just make the call with about 25,000 behind in his stack. So we're going to river, hoping to see a good card for me. It's the 6. I break out my flush draw, but this board texture should really favor me, and he doesn't have to know that I bricked out my flush draw, right? Anyways, I decide to go for it. I go all in. I put him all in, and with queen high, little nerve-wracking, but no sweat. This player just snap folds. Remember what I said about not playing an all-in pot? That was a complete lie. This was definitely another all-in pot. This next clip, you'll see I have won every single black chip at the table, which makes me the absolute man. By far, just the coolest person at my table, obviously. No, this is just a color up. Pretty standard in tournament procedures. When the blinds get high, you don't use the 100 chips anymore. But as the biggest chip stack at the table, clearly, things are going my way when I can just take and exchange everyone's chips. So things are going well. Okay, I'm on break now, and turns out you can be on the balcony. It's pretty sick. It's just a sea of poker tables here. And yeah, we're on this little 15-minute break. The view is kind of sick. I didn't know you actually could get up here and sit on the seats, but it's actually pretty awesome. Anyways, update, things have gone very, very well. Unlike yesterday where I busted like immediately after, or, you know, didn't have much going for me after dinner break. Today's a whole new story and it's amazing. I have a little under 200,000, which is about 7 starting stacks, and it's always nice to be the person that colors up all the black chips. So that's cool. I don't know what else to say. There's a long day ahead of us. We're playing till level 16 or 18. I think level end of 18. And we're at level 14 now. So still got 4 levels to play. Plenty of time to chip up and continue doing well. Pretty confident in myself playing at my current table. And that's it. Day 2, I think we'll be relatively close to being in the money. And there's that. Average stack is probably around 70,000, give or take. And I have a little over 200, or a little under 200, which is sick. That's all. Really good news. Really good update. Things are going well. Thank you to everyone who's sending me support and love on Twitter or on Instagram. You guys are the best. Always nice to just have positive feedback and positive messages flowing my way. So appreciate all the love. And that's it. That's all I got. Let's get back to the action. After the break, with 287 players remaining, it's announced that we're going to play until there are 116 players left, or we reach level 16. And at this point of the tournament, we are at level 15. Blinds have increased, and I pick up 10 deuce offsuit on the big blind. Action folds around to the small blind player who decides to limp. This guy is like the tightest guy at the table. Haven't seen him play a hand in 2 hours. So for that reason, when he limps, let's take advantage. I raise to 11,000. Supposed to have a mixed strategy here to raise really good hands or really bad hands in the big blind. and this player decides to call. Obviously, 10 deuce is considered a really bad hand, for those who didn't know that. Anyways, the going to a flop of king 6-4 to hearts. This player starts with a check, and when you play 10 deuce, you're not going to connect very often, but I'm going to blast out with air. I bet out 6,000, and this player makes the call. Okay, not loving it, as I'd expect him to only have a king and fold all pairs of 6s and 4s in here. We're going to a turn which comes a 9. He checks it over to me, and I'm not going to give him any more money with his top pair. He's never going to fold a king. I check back. The river now comes the ace of hearts. So this is actually not too bad. The flush gets there, a card over a king gets there, and when this player checks it over to me again, it seems like a mandatory bluff spot. I never bet the 9 because I don't think he's going to fold a king, but this ace could change a lot of things. I decided to size up and bet big to 35,000, almost the size of the pots. He doesn't take too long before just flicking in a call though. Damn it. There goes my image. I showed the 10 deuce off suit. I'm sure the table loves to see that. And this player has king 5 off. Nice hand to him. He literally hasn't played a hand in 2 to 3 hours. Didn't think he'd call with a king, but you know, maybe he knows I'm Rampunts. So now my stack is at 165,000 before going into this next hand. This one's pretty dicey. In level 15 we go. We observe an under the gun open to 12,000. Then a hijack all in for 112,000. And this is the same player from last hand who literally has not played a hand at all. Maybe played 4 hands in 3 hours now. 25 big blinds is a lot. And now I peel pocket queens. What? What am I going to do here? I don't think I can ever fold, but I'm trying to think in my head, like, would I ever fold pocket jacks? Would I fold pocket 10s against this very tight player going all in for his tournament life? I'm unsure, but you know what? We're here with queens. Thank God I have a really good hand. I make the call as it's mandatory. Everyone folds, and this player surprisingly shows pocket 7s. Okay, really nice to be a huge favorite to win in a must-win pot. Bank City for us. 80% favorite to win. We end up holding, and now my chip stack is at over 300,000. Things weren't looking amazing, but maybe sometimes it just takes one hand to be in the right situation. Moving on to level 16, the last level of the day. We were pretty close to making it to bag day 2, and I have pocket 9s in the cutoff when the under the gun player goes all in for 40,000. Pretty standard spot for pocket 9s. I make the call. This player has ace 9 offsuit, so I'm a pretty big favorite to win.
You make a run tomorrow. All you gotta do is survive right now.
I end up fading the ace here on these 5 cards on the runouts, and I win this one. I stack the player, and surprisingly, I bust him, and we're officially into day 2. Nice to bust the day 1 bubble. Doesn't mean we're in the money just yet, but it does mean we got to save a little bit of extra time as there are 116 players left in my field. Back in the hotel room, it's currently 1 a.m. and ended up bagging 365,000 chips, which I was told is really good news because I asked one of the reporters, Anthony, shout out to you. He told me that I'm actually going to be like a top 20 stack coming into day 2, which is nice. Just want to give you a quick update because I'll be playing poker again in 11 hours and it's going to be fun. 195 entering day 2, 183 I think make the money. So 12 people need to bust. So it's going to be a really bad day for 12 players going into day 2 and busting. Hopefully we're not one of them, which will be hard to do as a big stack. And it's going to be fun. It's like 370,000 for first place. It's a 3-day event, so it's going to be a long day 2. Going to run into some pretty tough players, I can only assume. So yeah, going to do some research, I guess maybe tonight or tomorrow morning on who's at my table. Going into day 2 with about 60 big blinds, which is not a lot, and apparently the top 20 stack still. So gonna need some run good. Wish us some luck, and I'll see you guys in 11 hours.